Can we get the presentation, please? OK. Cool. Yeah, so I'm the CTO and co-founder of Bitwala, and we are a German startup, and we've created the world's first crypto bank account. So our mission is to be the gateway between the old money and the new money. I think most of us by now don't believe in the decentralized vision of cryptocurrency that we once had. Short the banks, down with the banks. I think most of us realize that there's a synergy that can be achieved between traditional finance and crypto finance. So yeah, there's massive advantages of both sides. So still with traditional markets, you can't buy stocks on a weekend because the markets is closed. In fact, the biggest stock market in Asia actually has a 1-hour lunch break when you can't trade. And if we look at crypto, it's absolutely tiny in terms of value compared to traditional finance. And so if we could somehow leverage the benefits of cryptocurrency and blockchain and apply it to traditional finance, then that would be a massive win for everyone. I think most of the people in this room are already convinced by that. Some personal experiences for me. Our last funding round, it was a venture capital round. It cost 100,000 euros, and we spent 15 hours in a notary appointment. So there's definitely a big opportunity to cut out the middlemen and to make things more easy for both sides. Another example, I used to be involved with startups in Africa, and when there was a really good project, it was the case that Silicon Valley wouldn't be able to invest in it because they would have no idea how to invest in a Ghanaian limited, for example. So we actually see that traditional finance and the legal structure is blocking capital from flowing into interesting investments. We all know that the world is going to be tokenized. And I think one of the macro trends that we see is that the millennials, who are going to inherit a lot of money, they already have a preference for digital assets. So the millennials are people who grew up in the financial crisis, and they already prefer cryptocurrencies and digital forms of assets over the hedge funds that their parents preferred, over the real estate that their parents preferred. And so that's a macro trend that we're seeing. So yeah, I'm from Berlin, and in one of the Berlin neighborhoods, Kreuzberg, it was very famous for this cypherpunk movement. The early adopters of Bitcoin were cypherpunks or libertarians, and they believed in the most decentralized societies possible. They believed that banks were evil, banks were middlemen who controlled money and took profit and used their monopoly position to make the world a worse place. And we were promised a decentralized revolution. And the question is, where is it? So, what is this? It's a picture with flying cars. This is a country called Liberland. It's a small island between Croatia and Serbia, and it's trying to be a decentralized country in many regards. So Bitcoin is the national currency, and it's trying to make its government as decentralized and as small as possible, voluntary taxation, and of course, things like registering a birth or registering a company would all be done via smart contracts on decentralized blockchains. But the sad truth is, or maybe it's not so sad, is that banks are here to stay. So first of all, why? Well, what is a bank? So a bank is just a company from the government that's been given a license by the government to do certain things with people's money. So I don't think any of us expects banks to have exactly the same role as they do today. But in the future, as long as we have centralized government, there's going to be certain entities that are given permission to do things with the wealth and with the money pertaining to those centralized entities. Secondly, real-world assets. So something like Bitcoin, the value is natively stored on-chain, that's fine. But if you want to have a blockchain for commodities, if you want to put something like wheat on the blockchain, then there's a connection between the real world and the blockchain. And whenever there's that connection, that's got to be enforced with some kind of legislation. There's got to be a contract there. And even if that contract is some kind of smart contract, at one point it's got to have a reference to the real world. It's got to have an institution like a bank underwriting it and saying that yes, this token does correspond to this fund that corresponds to an ownership in this building, for example. So as long as you have real-world assets, you're always going to have a degree of centralization, and centralization means banks. And then finally, they already did it. So if we look at the markets today, it was the banks that put all of the assets in a form that made them liquid where they could be tradable. So if they were the guys who already did it, then most likely it's going to be the guys that they do it again. And All of us know that the economy is going to be tokenized. It's not all going to be on-chain native assets like Bitcoin. It's going to be real-world assets, and it's going to be the guys who did it last time who do it again. So we went from the dream to the reality. This is Liberland today, and you can see that a fully decentralized future is very much a work in progress, and I think that's a good thing. So this is a quote from the founder of Spice VC, which is a tokenized VC fund. Placing the bankers at the center of the ecosystem is the fastest way to grow the industry. So I think a lot of us are here because we believe in the promises of blockchain. We believe in decentralization. We believe that it'll make finance and investing and making contracts cheaper, more efficient, and more accessible. And I think we can really welcome any kind of force that brings that closer, that makes that happen quicker. So what do banks do? Well, first of all, they do know your asset. So investment banks, for example, if you do an IPO, then you need to go through an investment bank who will make sure that your books are correct, and then when you're selling that share on the market, you can trust that a third party has validated that this company is actually doing what it said it's doing and is actually underwriting that asset. Secondly, it's increasing demand. So we know that the institutional players need to come in to actually create a greater demand for blockchain. Right now, the demand on blockchain assets is still very, very small. And so by pulling in the institutional banks, then we can also pull in the institutional investors, and this will increase demand, and that will lift up the whole ecosystem. And then finally, new wealth generated. So it's not just the case that we're going to tokenize existing assets, it's also that we can tokenize new assets. So a big one is pre-IPO companies. So my company, for example, is doing an STO, and it's way too much work for us to do an IPO, but because of the new technology available, we can actually tokenize part of our company and sell it off in a more public way, which wasn't possible before the blockchain. So what are we doing today? Well, we say banks are going to stay, the role of a bank is going to change, but banks are going to be an integral part of this slow but steady transition from the old world to the digital asset world. And so what have we done? We've created the world's first crypto bank account. So users can go through our onboarding, and then they open their own German bank account. They get an IBAN and a BIC. Then they open a Bitcoin wallet where they hold the private keys, and they can trade directly between the two. So until now, you've had to choose whether you want to keep your money on an exchange where you can trade it, or whether you keep it on your bank account or your wallet where you can spend it. So you always have to choose between which platform do I keep my money on. With Bitwala, your bank account is your exchange, and you only need to have your money in one platform. And finally, your money is secure. So the euros are protected up to 100,000 euros by the German banking deposit scheme, and your bitcoins are protected because you hold the private keys. Even if Bitwala gets hacked or goes bankrupt, then you're the only one who has access to your money. So you have the security of keeping the money in a bank or a wallet, but then the spendability of using it on a card, for example, and then you can also trade it whenever you want. And you can also trade on the weekend because the money's already in the system. So if you want to trade on a Friday night, it won't work because you need to make a bank transfer to Kraken or to Bitstamp, whatever, and that won't arrive until early next week. Yeah. So what we've done is made it the best way possible to manage your Bitcoin and Euro liquidity, so you don't have to compromise your trade. Your funds are tradable, usable, and secure. So we launched in December, and we're currently doing B2C accounts. You can sign up today, as long as you're a resident of the EEA. Later on this year, we want to start doing B2B business. And this is really interesting because currently blockchain companies are extremely underbanked. So we have a company in our co-working space, and they're not doing anything with moving money around. They're not an exchange or anything like that. They're just doing a blockchain project, and they're paying 15,000 euros a month just for normal banking. So just for payroll, just for invoices and that kind of thing. So if you have blockchain anywhere in your business plan, then you're basically being penalized, and you're having to pay a lot just for normal banking services. And so we're saying we're going to bank the digital economy, and we're going to bank blockchain startups. In 2020, we want to get our own banking license. So currently, we're working with a German partner bank. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. There's no point in creating a bank to offer current accounts, because that's pretty boring business, frankly. And so we're currently working with Solaris Bank, also based in Berlin, Germany. And that takes me to my next point, which is why we're raising capital. So as you might imagine, getting your own banking license is relatively expensive. It takes 1 year of time and 4 million euros and a small army of lawyers and consultants, and this is why we're looking for funding now. And then secondly, we actually want to do what we say we believe in. So I'm telling you that the future is going to be tokenized, and that future is going to be better than the one we have now, and I would be a hypocrite if I stood up before you and I wasn't doing something to tokenize my own company. So we're taking 15% of the company, and we're tokenizing it, and we're going to make it available for public sale. So why is our STO different? First of all, our token is like equity. So we're trying to, if we could, we would put equity on the blockchain, but unfortunately we can't yet. And so what we're doing is a convertible note that has the properties of equity. So if we do an STO, if we do an IPO, then you can actually flip your tokens for shares, and you can appreciate all of the benefit of all of the dividend payouts, and if we do an exit beforehand. Secondly, it's regulated in Germany. So our business is based in Germany, our banking license in Germany, and our STO will be approved by the BaFin, which is a German regulatory body. And then finally, we're a live product with traction. So you see a lot of white papers promising something. We've been in the market for 3 years, and our new product is live since December. And then finally, we are backed by some of the biggest names in the business. We've closed 3 VC rounds before deciding to do an STO. We're supported by Digital Currency Group, which is the biggest cryptocurrency startup investor, and Early Bird, who's the seed investor in N26. And we're actually backed by the European Union specifically to help the B2B use case, because even they see that the blockchain sector is underbanked. So this is a diagram of the security token offering and what will happen. It's a little bit complicated. It's available on our page, bitwalatoken.com. But what I want you to get out of this is that we've worked really hard to align the incentives of the token holders with the shareholders. Because just as our mission is to combine old finance with new finance, we're combining old fundraising with new fundraising. We're combining equity with tokens, and it's a messy transition phase. We're doing the best that we can in 2019, but you can rest assured that I, as a shareholder, have the same incentives as you as a token holder. Yeah, so again, old world and new world. I've been in the crypto space since 2013. I had my first Bitcoin when it was 50 euros, and then we're adding traditional bankers to our team as well. So my CFO, Christoph, he has 10 years in normal banking. He has firsthand seen the pain of traditional banking, and so we like to think that our team is like our mission, and it's bridging the two worlds, crypto and traditional payments. And then finally, I would ask you to consider investing, or to ask anyone who you know to invest. So currently it's a private pre-sale, and we're looking for ticket sizes of minimum 100K. Yeah, and all the information is online at bitwalatoken.com. Thank you very much.